some sort of subversion? How do these wealthy, influential people who should be highly intelligent get so easily subverted by an Epstein?
I think with Epstein, it's not racism, it's about bloodlines. So if you are part of that circle of people, like the top elite, okay, you're really concerned about bloodlines. And the reason why is that you need to explain in your mind why you have all this power, all this money. Because objectively, Bill Gates has like billions of dollars, right? So he's like 1,000 times wealthier than us, normal people. But he's like 1,000 times smarter. Probably not.
Mhm.
And so he sort of understands that. Okay. So one thing that they're trying to look at is my bloodline different? Do I come from a race of the divine, right? Am I an ancestor of Hercules or Achilles, right? Because back in the Greek world, kings claim a divine bloodline where, the mother was raped by Zeus, or maybe the father was Hercules, a son of Zeus. So for the elite, bloodline is very, very important. And they're constantly proving that how they're descended from like the most powerful people, emperors, right? So if you look at Epstein's emails, one thing that he was very obsessed with is family heritage, where he was having a conversation with Arende de Rothschild, who was a member of the Rothschild family. And one thing that he told her is, look, there were three families that were very powerful in Europe, Jewish banking families. They were the Rothschilds, the Epsteins, and the Gutmans. And we built a shelter, and Hitler lived in the shelter for a long time. And he was obsessed with this heritage of his, proving to himself and to others that the Epsteins is one of the most powerful families in the world. They're part of the Illuminati. They're up there with the Rothschilds. So this is what the elite is just obsessed with, proving to themselves in the world that they're just divine, and that's why they rule. Because it's not because of their brilliance, it's not because of their ability, it's not because of their leadership skills. It's because they're divine. Their blood is just different from ours.
Mhm.
This, like the Pope article, now reading how God exercised improper power dynamics with the Virgin Mary, no consent. Jeffrey Epstein learned it from God, and so did we. Every victim in the Epstein file is the Virgin Mary, and not because they are pure and innocent, but because we've been taught that their body's pain doesn't count. Christianity's inability to sit with the troubling complexity of Mary's story has made it a training manual for how to not see grape, how to erase what happens to women's bodies, how to only count the suffering that doesn't threaten male power. This is the pattern that founded this country. The founding fathers raped and had children with enslaved black children. Jefferson with Sally Hemings, who was 14, about the same age as Mary when she conceived Jesus. One story we call holy, and the other one complicated, a relationship, a liaison, anything but what it actually is. Epstein didn't invent anything. He just carried.
Talk to my wife about why Jeffrey Epstein was doing what he was doing. Like why are they doing this? Because like it's disgusting. And her explanation makes the most sense. So, I mean, my wife, she's not from a powerful family, but she grew up in a very powerful organization. And from her early age, she's dealt with powerful people, okay? So she knows what they're like, okay? She explained to me how they are, okay? So the powerful people are usually born into a position of privilege. And if you're like that, there's no excitement in your life. There's no challenge. It's only just privilege. And privilege is boring. It's numbing. Okay. So for them, the greatest challenge is how do you find excitement? How do you stir a feeling in your heart in this world? Her explanation is you do it for children. Okay. Why? Well, first of all, it's like having a doll, right? A doll you can play with, a cat you can play with, but children are much more exciting. You can play with them, you can control them, you can manipulate them, you can abuse them. And the other thing is that you can scare children much more easily. Okay, so there's conspiracy theory where the elite draw energy from adrenochrome. Okay,
Mhm.
and adrenochrome. Okay, and adrenochrome is just blood that is excited, blood that comes from fear. Okay, and so you drink that blood because this blood is rejuvenating. Well, that's a metaphorical statement where, as a powerful person, and you see a child in fear, that excites you. That excites you both sexually and psychologically and emotionally. And so, you have seen these videos of like Prince Andrew just running around and grabbing children. And he was like really, really excited, really, really happy when he's doing that. And the reason why is that's the only thing that can bring him excitement. Another example is the Squid Game. I'm not sure if you've seen the Netflix series, The Squid Game, right? The entire premise of the Squid Game is you have all these rich people in South Korea, and they have like the most money in the world. They can do whatever they want. They can like sleep with the most beautiful movie star in the world. They don't want to do that because it's boring. Okay, they're looking for some excitement in their life, and that's why they create the Squid Game. All right, so the Squid Game is just a metaphor for Epstein Island, where these people are bored, man. They're bored by everything. They're bored by their own lives. They're bored by the people around them because they're all psychopaths. They're bored by power itself because they've experienced it all, and so like they're looking for like novelty in their lives, and that's what children bring. Okay, there's also, and it's like, why are they so blatant about this? And my wife says it's psychology, where you have to have a risk of getting caught. You have to have the risk of being exposed in order for this to be exciting. Okay, if it's all just hidden from everyone and no one can ever find out, and there's no risk, it's not funny. It's not fun anymore. All right, so I understand this sounds really disturbing, but unfortunately, if you give a certain group of people too much power, then this is the way they behave. And this has been true historically. Okay, you look at any society. In China, guess what, guys? We do the same thing. All right, don't think that Chinese are more superior because of Confucianism. Don't think that the Indians are superior because of their Vedic tradition. No, everyone's the same. If you put people in positions of power, they're going to abuse it. All right, and what they want ultimately is novelty, excitement, feeling. All right, so like just you and me, we feel a tremendous rush when we achieve something. Well, they've achieved it all. So they need these sort of like sadistic, satanic rituals in order to feel alive again. Look, the other thing that is not being in the Epstein files, but I'm sure there's lots of them, are snuff films. Okay, I'm sure there's lots of these things because that's what they do, man. And just recently, the United States, called the Department of Justice, they released about 3 million documents. And what they discover is that he knows everyone who's powerful in the world. Bill Gates, at once, before the wealthiest man in the world, he was begging Jeff Epstein for money. Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, he's actually trying to arrange an appointment with Jeffrey Epstein. All right, why? Because Jeffrey Epstein says, I represent the Rothschilds. All right, your money is fake. Your money is stock market money. Your money is an illusion. I represent real money, real power, real wealth. Okay? These are parasites. They look at geopolitics and they're like, how can we take advantage of geopolitical events to make the most money for ourselves? So what's happening is a civil war between the elite, these people, and the counter-elite. People who want to take the position and become the parasites. Okay? And that's why we're seeing this conflict right now emerge in America. Okay? All right. So now what I want to do is I want to go more into the structure of this world. Okay? This. What I want to show you is that Jeffrey Epstein is one of the operators of the system. He works for the Rothschilds, as well as secret societies, as well as transnational capital, and he is embedded in science, crime, and intelligence. Okay? And again, the evidence is something called the Epstein files. All right. So let's look at the Epstein files. Okay, so this is Jeffrey Epstein, and this is Donald Trump. All right. Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019 in a federal prison, and he was being charged with many crimes, and the FBI ran an investigation into him. And just recently, the United States, called the Department of Justice, the DOJ, on their website, they released about 3 million documents pertaining to the Epstein investigation, and a lot of these are emails. And what you discover is that he knows everyone who's powerful in the world. So for the longest time, it was believed that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, okay? And his job was to lure powerful American powerful Americans such as Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, to his island called Epstein Island, where he would film them engage in compromising activities. And then he would blackmail them. Okay? And that was for the longest time what people understood to be Jeffrey Epstein's role. But then when you look at the emails, what you recognize is that no, actually, that's what he did for fun. Actually, he made most of his money in arms trafficking and in money laundering. Also, Bill Gates wasn't going to Epstein Island to give Jeffrey Epstein money. Jeffrey Epstein, he went to ask for money. Think about this, okay? Bill Gates, once before the wealthiest man in the world, he was begging Jeffrey Epstein for money. Think about that. All right? Okay, so let us look at who he is. Okay, this is Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, as you know, is one of the wealthiest men in America. And Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein are arranging a time to meet. Again, it's not Jeffrey Epstein seeking these guys out, they're seeking him out, okay? Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, he's actually trying to arrange an appointment with Jeffrey Epstein. All right, why? Because Jeffrey Epstein says, I represent the Rothschilds. All right? Your money is fake. Your money is stock market money. Your money is an illusion. I represent real money, real power, real wealth. Okay? All right. The Rothschilds. All right. So Jeffrey Epstein is very close with the Rothschild family. Why? Well, this is Irena de Rothschild, one of the members of the Rothschild family. Okay? And in December 2018, okay, this is a year before he dies. All right. Jeffrey Epstein sends Aaron de Rothschild an email saying, hey,
has China talked about the Epstein files? Is this in the media at all? What's the average person's perception of that as far as you can tell living in China?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but the Chinese imagination doesn't really exist. It's a very narrow algorithm. And it's, you know, I mean, like I talk about how for the Freemasons, China is a vast colonial project. They've won, they've succeeded. So look at the communists, you look at the Marxists. If you look at the history, the secret history, there was Freemasonic involvement, there was Jesuit involvement. Some of the earliest communists, Mao Zedong, they were being mentored by people aligned with the Jesuits and the Freemasons. These things did not happen organically, okay, because they wanted Marxism to triumph, because the world they want to create is techno-Marxism, okay, right? If you just look at what Pax Judaica is, if you just look at what the Holy Empire of Reason is, it is techno-Marxism. In fact, if you read Zbigniew Brzezinski, Between Two Ages, and he writes about the coming of the techno state. It's techno-Marxism, okay? And like Brzezinski was a Templar himself, or was a Christian. Who knows? Like again, I don't know the specifics, okay? But I'm pretty sure he's a Freemason. And so China is key to that, because what China has done is wiped out historical memory. You know, when you wipe out historical memory and all cultural residue, then you allow for the algorithmization of the human mind. You can turn the human mind into pure reason. So in China, when you interact with Chinese people, they're no different from algorithms, okay? If you want someone to work, you're like, how much money are you going to pay me? It's never like, do I care? Am I interested? Will this make me good with God? They don't care. It's like, how much are you going to pay me? Right? In China, they have a saying, okay? It's like, survival is the highest reason. Imagine that. The only point of living is to survive. If you survive, you've won. Like, what is this crap?